Hey, I'm Sarah, and this is episode 1 of my journey to go from this to this in 5 months. At the end of 2022, I signed up for this race. Taking place on May 13th to the 14th in Preston. I started my training for this ultramarathon on January 9th, which means 5 months to prepare. I've never trained for an ultramarathon before, and the longest I've ever ran has been a 25K, or 15.5 miles, which I did when I was at the wee age of 19. This race, as the title suggests, is a 24-hour race, which means I'll have 24 hours to see how far I can go along this trail. My goal is to get to the last checkpoint, which is 96.3 miles away from the start by the end of 24 hours. So I'm treating this like I'm training for a 100-mile race. In order to do that, I'll have to average between 14 and 15-minute miles along a course that has 5 to 20 meters of elevation gain per kilometer. I honestly don't really know what that means in practice because I'm terrible at estimating distance and height. When I was in high school, I ran cross country. I ran very slowly. I loved it. But I also had a load of injuries. Nothing too serious, but I regularly got shin splints, sprained ankles, creaky knees, creaky hips. So I switched to strength training and I never really came back to running. But then I heard these guys speak on a podcast and they seem to think that we are born to run. They made a very good case for it. So I got really excited. I bought the book. I signed up for the race. And here we are. When I started strength training, I had literally no idea what I was doing. But lucky for me, I got started with some really good coaches. I started to improve pretty quickly by focusing on form and consistency. And it was crazy how good I got at it. For me, from my perspective, I'm definitely not a professional athlete of any sort. More than that, even more than that, I found that I was building this confidence and I had physical options in my life. I went from this like depressed little hermit Sarah to a Sarah who felt like she could speak to people and walk around the world and feel strong and all those things. And so when these guys were talking about form and approaching it from a form first perspective, I was like, I could apply that same thing that got me good at weightlifting. I could apply that to running, and maybe I could get really good at running. Maybe. I'm realizing I have a lot of self-limiting beliefs about what I can do with running because of my previous experience. I just want to smash through that shit, you know? Like any self-limiting belief, I just want to smash. Not smashing my body. That's the whole purpose, is to not smash my body. No smashing on that end. CrossFit, powerlifting, calisthenics, rock climbing. Not really any endurance training.
100 burpees for you.
More specifically, here's what I've been doing for the last 3 months.
So I would try to get into the gym 5 days per week. My strength sessions would last anywhere between 1 to 2 hours, and I was following a bodybuilding program. To keep things interesting, I'd add in a CrossFit-style workout primarily focused on strength and power, 1 to 2 times a week, and those would last anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes.
I don't think I've done anything longer than 25 minutes in I can't remember when. To prepare for this race, I'll be following the training program in this book. I decided to choose the training program in here because of its focus on form. If you've read this book or you know about it, you may know that it is not specifically for training ultramarathons. So I have added a couple little tweaks using my very noob researching skills and leaning on some wisdom from other ultra runners on the internet. More specifically, I've turned some of the timed runs into actual mile focused
runs, how do I say this better? Let me give you an example. It says 10 to 30 minutes in gear 1, which basically means run for 10 to 30 minutes at a conversational pace. So a run like that, I've changed some of those days in my program to be where I'm hitting maybe 3 miles or 4 miles instead of 10 to 30 minutes. The other thing that I've tweaked, which fills my heart with joy, is that I've replaced one running day with a strength training session because I cannot stay away from the iron because I love it. But also, as it turns out, strength training is really good for preparing for ultramarathons, some would say. So I've decided to go with that kind of wisdom because that's one of the only things that I have read about ultras where I read it and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Everything else I'm a bit like. So if you're nerdy about the numbers, my highest volume week, I'm doing a total of 53 miles, and my longest run is 26 miles. I imagine some people are gonna tear me apart for doing that because there's a lot of opinions about how to train. I'm gonna give it a go, I'm gonna try it. The most important thing at this point is that I actually start running because I'm currently, my mileage is at weekly average of 0. So if we can get that up even just a little, we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. Oh yeah, nature.